here we go. And also, oh, God, it's good.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 110 of CMD Towers, Brews and Builds. I'm MrComboNumber5, and my fellow host is like Kevin Costner in Man of Steel. Seems like he'd be a great dad, then does something stupid like take the brunt of a board wipe. BigTuck.
Hi, yes, that's me, Mr. Combo. I'm really excited about today. We're talking about maybe one of the first Magic cards I ever owned. I will go in to say this, that I'm currently drinking some whiskey and this Zevia stuff that I was telling you about because I'm in a lot of pain. And the reason why is I started playing rugby again.
Oh my God. So you're going to start coming in like some abused
Yes.
house husband?
It's great to explain. I used to be tough when I played back when I was an intern and would show up on Mondays and my nose is clearly broken. I have black eyes and I'm limping. They're like, so was it bouncing? Was it just your general falling down the stairs because you were drunk? I was like, no, I was playing rugby. And they're like, and then I fell down the stairs later. Yeah. So it's been really fun. Yesterday was our first full contact practice. So I was feeling pretty good until I worked out. And then I was doing goblin squats. Or goblet, I guess. Goblin squats, if you want. That's what we call them.
Yeah, I was about to say goblin squats. Is it like what? You pretend that you're holding this fat, chubby goblin?
You put squee on your back, and then you start doing your squats there. And just something I don't know what happened. It was after I ran, so my back is in a lot of pain, which is really exciting because I'm going to a concert tonight. So I'm looking forward to standing and have that going. But it's a Friday here. All right, we got to cut to the meat of this. Mr. Combo has a story he needs to tell me about his time in Aggieville in Manhattan. That he buried the lead on Monday, and I want to hear it so bad. So I got to cut right to that.
I will get to that as well, but I was actually going to have a fun weekend myself, but I had to cancel because of damn COVID.
What?
Pisses me off so much.
This weekend?
As Tuck knows, I'm going to be going to Italy in 2 weeks with a great friend, longtime friend of ours, Jared. When we booked our trip, all you needed for Italy was a COVID card to get in, which I have the vaccine, so it's fine.
And you went and got another one printed out, right, at CVS or something, or Walmart? Yeah.
Yep. And so 2 weeks after we booked our trip, which I didn't know, I only found this out a couple days ago, but apparently the state of Italy decided to, I don't know, say on top of having to have the vaccine, you also have to present a negative test within 72 hours of arriving, or they won't let you in the country. So it's like, well, that sucks because this Sunday I actually had a vendor who was going to take me in their box suite to a Chiefs game. We were going to see the Buffalo Bills play Sunday Night Football. So it's like I can't go because I can't risk being around 85,000 people getting positive, and then I can't even go on my trip. Because, let me tell you, Chiefs Bills would be amazing to see in person. It doesn't compare to going to Italy.
Yeah, right. That's a big turn down, man. I'm proud of you, though. That's a big step. Taken away, but what do you got to do?
Yeah. But
we'll figure it out.
For the story that Tuck wants to hear,
yes,
here is the night. So a few weeks ago, it was my birthday weekend. Talked about it a little bit on news earlier in the week. Went ahead and went out to Manhattan, Kansas. I did not go there, but I have a lot of great friends. Our awesome audio producer went there, but Kansas State University, home with Wildcats.
It's your college sport that you watch, right?
Yeah, it's my college that I support. Anything going on at the university, I try to learn about. So, we went and watched Oklahoma, the Sooners, play K-State. We ended up losing, but it was a big deal because
Boomer Sooner, baby.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's what
I don't
they
even know
say.
what Boomer Sooner means.
That's
I know
what
that's what they say. It doesn't mean it makes it. That's like Alabama people saying Roll Tide. What the hell does that even mean?
Or the worst one, the Ohio State. I hate when people say that. I went to the Ohio State. God. Have you ever been to Ohio? It's horrible. But continue.
Or the U.
Oh, blech. No, I don't like any.
Sorry, you went to the university? I don't know what that means.
So I want to continue. I've been watching this thing about the teams that win the most. So there's a term. So they call it University of Michigan is one of these teams, right, that win a lot, I guess. So there's a term that's the most winningest team. That's a universal sports term, and it sounds so stupid. So anyways.
That sounds so dumb.
That's not so that's
anyways,
something right? You never heard that term before?
No, I've never heard of that.
Continue, please.
So this was our last year of probably having Oklahoma in the Big 12. So we probably won't ever play K-State again. They're going to the SEC along with Texas. So it'll be very rare if we ever play them. So it was like, hey, let's make a trip out of it. Well, one of my fiance's good friends and her boyfriend were also at the game. They're K-State's alums, along with my fiance. And so we met up in Aggieville. And if you guys aren't familiar with Aggieville, just Google it. It's basically like this little tiny 2-block radius bar district in Manhattan, Kansas, but it gets crazy.
It's like Bourbon. It's like a hick version of Bourbon Street. It's just like it's a really good nightmare situation to go to at any time.
But the weird thing is, like, when Tuck says hick, there are no country bars or none of that. It's just a bunch of
country
college bars.
people.
Yes. Before I get into what happened in the night, Tuck, I forgot how cheap it is to drink in college towns.
Yeah.
I think I bought drinks for everyone the entire night. 20 shots, probably 15 to 20 beers and cocktails. I think I spent $100.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's like it's a $100 night, Aggieville.
And I think that's with Mr. Combo being a little tipsy and tipping a little too much. Still only $100. And went to Hunan and got some Chinese at 1 a.m. Holy crap. We'll get to that. So what Tuck wanted to hear about is we're at one of the bars. It's crowded. We find a ledge that we can sit on.
Did you win or lose?
We lost.
Okay, so people.
It was actually a very competitive game. We ended up leaving. There were guys, you should go look up this game. There were so many ticky-tack turnovers that they ended up like reviewing and going back on just because it's Oklahoma. It was so pissed me off. But we lost, and it's fine. So we're at this bar. We're outside. We're sitting on a ledge. Music comes on. Both girls get up, start dancing. My fiance's girlfriend's boyfriend, he gets up and starts dancing, and I'm like, screw it. No one's really going to swipe our seats. It's not a big deal, and it's K-State. I mean, Manhattan people are generally nice here. So we're dancing, and probably like for 5-10 minutes. Our cups are still sitting there at the ledge. Woman comes over. Looks like she rolled straight out of her sewer-infested trailer from Mississippi.
Yep,
sorry, I can say that because I lived there. Sits in the seats, and my fiance comes up. She's like, babe, someone sat in our seats. And I'm like, you know what? We're still dancing. If someone wants to sit there while we're dancing, that's fine. And we'll just let them know, like, hey, our cups are here. Can you move once we're done?
Right,
like, I don't want to be that asshole that's like, you can't use that even though I'm not using
Dibs on it while we're up and around.
Yeah. 5 minutes goes by. No one comes and sits next to her. Song ends. And I'm like, hey, ma'am, would you mind scooting over? We were sitting here first. And she's like, no. You can go find somewhere else to sit.
What?
And if anyone knows me in person, I'm usually a very anti-confrontational person until I get a cocktail in me, and then I'm willing to stand up for myself, and actually like combat. So
drunk
I'm like,
drunk
you know
Mr. Combo doesn't take. But drunk Mr. Combo can get a little aggressive sometimes. Not as much anymore, but I can understand where you've been slighted, especially when you've been slighted.
Yes. Oh my God. Put me on tilt. Yeah, and it's usually I'm always never violent. I'm not going to hit anyone or try to get in a fight, but I will verbalize how upset I am with you. I am the may I speak to your manager Karen, but with assholes in real life. So, she says that, and I'm like, that's not going to work for me. You really, you need to move.
You need to go review the contracts.
And I even said this because she had enough room on both sides of her to where if she just would have moved like slightly to the right or left, all four of us would have had plenty of room.
Yeah, right.
But the way she was sitting, she was splitting the group in half. So I'm like, why don't you just scoot over? There's still plenty of room. And she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then a guy comes over and sits next to her. Mind you, both these people are probably in their 40s.
Sure.
Or maybe even early 50s. Or heck, they could have been 21 and just the amount of cocaine and meth they did aged them centuries. So he sits down, and so I become the very Godfather-like asshole. I'm like, you know what? Fine, let's all be one big happy group. Let's all sit together. Doesn't that sound exciting?
Yes.
And so I literally go and sit next to them on the far side to leave room for everyone else. And I'm like, guys, so how's your night going? Like, can we be best friends?
Right.
And I'm doing all of this just to rile them up because it's just they're pissing me off so much.
Right.
Because it's like, you can go sit anywhere you want in the bar. And it's like, you could too. Our shit's here. We should have to
our
move.
glasses are still here.
Yes. So, that goes on for about a minute and a half. My fiance comes over. She's like, hey, seriously, guys, do you mind just scooting over
Joanna
so that way
even
we can
got
sit
into
together?
It.
Yeah. And then the lady's like, fuck you. Go mind your own fucking business, bitch. And that's when I was like, all right, you're you're not going to talk to my fiance like that. And then her man gets up and he's like, oh, you want to fight, bro? And it's like, man, I'm not going to fight you. I'll just get your ass thrown out of the bar.
Right,
like, I'm an adult. That's how we solve things.
Right.
I'm not going to, like, go to jail to, like, prove I'm a man.
Yeah, to prove.
And so
to
he's
prove
sitting there
a
going
ledge
back
to
and
sit,
forth. Lady still talking shit. And then, Tuck, it got to the climax of this one time, to the breaking point, and it was hilarious. The guy stands up and he's like, dude, let's go to around the back and fight. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't have to fight you. Plus, there's no way you could take me and my fiance's friend's boyfriend is like 2 inches taller than me, but he is like stocky,
Huge.
like a rugby player.
Yeah.
No way you're going to take us both out. And so, once again, I'm saying, like, no, I'm not diffusing, but I'm not going to fight you. He then, everyone, get ready, takes off his shirt.
No!
Get ready to only show another brand new shirt underneath that shirt. As if taking off the shirt, and it wasn't even a, long sleeve to a t-shirt or t-shirt to a tank top. It was a t-shirt to a t-shirt.
A t-shirt to yet another t-shirt.
Yes. Same material, both full cotton blend probably. It wasn't even like a muscle, like fishnet t-shirt that someone in a weight room might wear.
Right.
Nope,
Right.
T-shirt to t-shirt, trying to fight. We end up walking away. We're like, hey, let's go to the bar. We'll get a shot. Let's get out of here. We'll never see them again.
Yeah.
Not 5 minutes later, we see them at the bar right next to us, and it got real uncomfortable. Then we leave. My fiance's drunk at this point. She's like, she gets very anxious. She's like, man, that really made me uncomfortable. I didn't like that. I love how you stood up for me, but, I just, that whole confrontation thing, I don't like it.
Yeah. It gives you,
I shouldn't have said it.
shakes, yeah.
Shouldn't have said it. Babe, that was a fluke. We will never see them again in our lives. Guys, I kid you not, 1 a.m. comes around. We're drunk in this Chinese restaurant waiting for our food. They were sitting there waiting for our food. They walk in. They see us this time. I guess they didn't see us the first time. And the guy tried to take his other shirt off for another shirt and try to fight me in the Chinese restaurant. And his like crackhead, meth chick had to drag him out. And the whole time, because I could see it out of my peripheral, that he was eyeing me and like jawing and like saying stuff. So I did the thing I could the most, Tuck. If you were sitting to my left and he was to my right, I stared hard at you and just had a overly loud conversation. So he knew that I was ignoring him the entire time.
Absolutely.
And so as I kept doing it, I just get louder. Oh my gosh, that's just so funny
I can't
and
believe
amazing.
It. Yes, right. Yes.
So that was my night. They
classic.
eventually left. I almost got in a fist fight with a meth head in the Little Apple.
I love the taking off the shirt for yet another shirt.
I know. We did not understand why. Like, what was that one shirt making him not aerodynamic enough to fight?
That's his good shirt.
Like,
he doesn't want to get blood on it, right? So he's got to get the undershirt.
No, what it is, I just thought of it, guys. It's like Dragon Ball Z. Remember when Goku and Piccolo would take off their clothes and it was weighted? That must have been a weighted t-shirt. He just taking off that one piece of clothing unlocked him to power level 10,000.
Okay.
I didn't even see it.
Fucking Aggieville. I mean, I'm not even surprised. Like,
well, guys,
incredible.
Sorry for that long rambling
it's
story.
Worth it. It's incredible.
But if you would like to help us out financially, you should definitely head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/CMDTower. We do have lots of giveaways, just so you guys know, 50 or 70 and, probably mostly large to double XL. We'll have some mediums. We'll have, I think, maybe 1 or 2 triples, just depends on how big this double XL they send me is. But if you join our patron community, you'll have the option to get one at a discount for just $30 plus shipping. These are going to be like high-end, like cashmere blend, cotton blend sweaters. So they're going to be really, really nice. But that's just one of them. On top of, for $1 a month, you get into our Discord. For $5 a month, we'll send you a free pack of sleeves, plus some RK Post tokens. We give away stuff at every single tier. Heck, we're even working towards a new playmat that Rocketing... I just did it, Rocketing Moss.
Yeah.
Marketing Ross developed.
That's his real name. You take
it
it back. It's Rocketing Moss.
And it will be a partially foiled playmat that our patron community will actually be getting a discount on to buy it in the store. So great things go with it. And one of the things that occasionally we do also offer is a giveaway. So we were giving away, and usually we announce this on news, but couldn't do it because of the recording vacation dilemma that we were in.
Yeah.
So Ben Weber, you've been a patron and supporter for 16 months. You're always sharing our content. You're always contributing to the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben.
And you won the Zendikar Rising sealed booster box, 4 CMD Tower playmats, and 4 sets of sleeves, so that way you could do your own at-home draft. Just be sure to message our main account or myself, MrComboNumber5, with your updated mailing address so we can get that shipped to you ASAP.
Congratulations, Ben. Thank you for the support.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you are an existing patron and you want to bring someone into the community, we do have a referral program. So anyone you refer to join as a Patreon, have them message us telling us which community member recommended them, and depending on their tier, we'll send you some free stuff. I know Lemony Lennings was the very first one to do that. Yep. We ended up sending them a free pack of sleeves as just a nice little thank you. Now, if you want to pick up any of the swag, or maybe you can't become a Patreon and you would like to get that holiday sweater, you'd like to get that foil playmat, just head over to our store, cmdtower.com/merch. We do keep it fairly updated. We pretty much just do a flat $10 for shipping, whether you get one thing or a pallet full of stuff. The holiday sweater we will have on the website, at least picture-wise. It just won't be available to purchase, hopefully here in the next week or so. The playmat will probably take a little bit longer because we're still developing it, but both of those should be for sale come beginning of December. But we will give our patron community first crack at it, just in case if there is a large demand, they're able to purchase those first. So between now and when that stuff goes on sale, join for even just $1, and that'll get you into all of this awesome product. Now, if you guys can't help us out financially, getting some of our swag, but you want to support us, just share the content you're watching and listening to, because every little bit of interaction from the collective does help. And we do want to give a big shout out to our K-State graduate, Squee McGee, at Dear Squee on Twitter, or DearSquee at cmdtower.com. He does all the audio editing for our channel and does an amazing job. He could do editing for you if you needed help as well. Our video editor, YouTube wouldn't be here if it weren't for him. And I guess I should change the context of that, as YouTube wouldn't be here for CMD Tower. I don't think @_tcoats invented the series of tubes that connect to you.
Now, we don't know that for sure, but
that is true. We do not have facts.
We're going to go with an assumption that he is, in fact, not the inventor of YouTube.
Funny side note, do you know off the top of your head what the very first YouTube video ever was?
Charlie Bit Me? I don't know.
Nope. I believe it was one of the engineers or the founder of YouTube. It was a younger kid, and he was literally at the zoo, I think next to an elephant, and just said, this is an elephant. Are we good? And then they end the recording. It's like 5 seconds long. And I think it was just literally to test, can we put a video on the internet for people to watch?
That's incredible.
Fun fact. But @_tcoats, Tyler does video editing for YouTube across all sorts of genres. And hey, who knows? He might even put that little video into our YouTube video so that way you guys can see what the hell I'm talking about.
It's literally me at the zoo 16 years ago, 191 million views, and it's 19 seconds long of some guy in a rain jacket in front of a bunch of elephants.
So Tyler does an amazing job for us. Please leave comments, subscribe to our channel. We need to get the views up. We need to get to 500 subscribers sooner rather than later. We want to grow this channel as much as possible to let Tyler know, hey, the work he's putting in is worth it. And B, you guys are actually enjoying the content. So leave some comments and subscribe. So Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we conquered the path to 32 and talked about some exciting themes of EDH can support, we decided to mix it up for Season 3. Kicking it off, BigTuck and I will be doing a fantasy draft commander around community-voted legends.
Oh, that's a Kevin Costner. Okay, I thought...
Yes,
yeah, I was like,
every single Chaos Draft, I'm going to find some way to work Kevin Costner into the opening.
I was like, I guess the commander kind of looks like him, although he looks like 2 other people way better, which we'll get into shortly.
God. Well, each of us will do the following.
So we have pre-selected 50 non-land cards. We will flip a coin. The Squee coin, I believe, is our official game token here to see who drafts first. And then we're going to go round robin and a little bit more on that in a second until the deck is actually complete.
And then what happens if I end up picking one of your cards?
So we have to take it off of our draft board. We cannot select it again.
And I mean, I think you need mana bases and lands to play. What are you guys talking about? Lands?
We will not be giving the total land count recommended and only talking about cards up to the available slots. So we will not be talking about specific lands or how they factor in.
And the way that we'll be doing this is the first 27 rounds will be a snake draft. So whoever goes first will go 1, and then whoever goes second will go 2 and pick 3, and then it'll go 4, 5, 6, 7. Basically, it's just whoever gets to pick first gets that first selection, but then every pick after that, you're picking 2 in a row. And then for the final 5, it'll be a lightning round! Yeah, that's a Friends reference. And lightning round will literally just be Tuck picks, I pick, Tuck picks, I pick, however that goes.
And that will boil down to 34 cards apiece. No, sorry, 32 cards apiece, which is 64, 1 with the commander, and then 35 lands is what the deck will end up looking like.
Yep. So without further ado, let's get brewing. Tuck, what did our Discord community vote on?
Foolishly, you chose a card that I actually had when I was younger and always wanted to make into a commander and put it into my first mono red deck ever. Played it once and took it right out. We were talking about Eron, not Aaron, nor single Aaron, nor double Aaron, Eron the Relentless. So Eron the Relentless is 3 colorless double red for legendary creature redacted human rogue. So there's a little bit of synergy in there. That's a 5/2 and has haste. And then for the low cost of 3 red mana, you can regenerate him. That's it.
And if you are so inclined, you can get a gold border
copy you absolutely
for
can.
$1.
Yes, that was on the list. So I have a couple things here. The artwork on him, he's kind of like a scraggly guy, but I've never seen Eron and the Relentless and Bret Michaels or Sam Neill from Jurassic Park in the same room before. As doing this, I did a little bit of research, pretty much working from scratch here, because he had 9 decks on EDHREC. That was it. And evidently, he is the prominent Phoenix commander, because the only cards that were on EDHREC was like 48 creatures. It's every single Phoenix that's ever been printed in red.
That is so random.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, that makes absolutely 0 sense. Yeah, I mean, pretty much when you look at this guy, I think this just screams mono red Voltron with like some loose protection with the regeneration factor. I think though that there's a lot of cool things you can kind of do with this. So like, I think it'd be good for people to kind of understand the way that each of us approached our cards that we picked. So the way that I approach this is I try to do a blend of Voltron Spellslinger. Red has a lot of Red has a lot of cantrip type stuff. You know, Feather was the one that kind of made some of those jump in price, but I thought there might be ways to cantrip, be able to possibly even reuse those spells, and then find ways to somewhat slow the board. I definitely approach this similar to how my Esha Voltron deck is in mono white, where it's kind of mono white Voltron stacks. There's not as much stacks in red, but I tried to at least get a little bit of like, I'm either going to hurt you for doing it, or I'm going to slow you down a little bit, or make you think about it. Because just with him costing 5, and then literally he's just a 5/2 with haste. There is no trample. There is no.
There's
strike,
not.
there is no
there's not.
And then the low cost of red to keep him from dying. You're going to have to find ways to make the game go long.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I'm kind of almost in the same boat, dealing a lot with combat, almost 100% into the combat zone. I also have a few cards that kind of play around with the regenerate that I think are kind of spicy. Again, 3 red is kind of a lot to hold up. And then just some kind of generic red good stuff I think would kind of help them out a little bit. I think this is kind of, I was looking through this. I think you can build an interesting commander out this. I think my only worry is there's probably a creature that's been printed more recently that's just better if you want to do red Voltron. But if
the community voted on it.
Yeah, exactly. So as I was talking to Mr. Combo about this, I was very much looking forward to this episode. I love these drafts, and I'm ready to get on into it.
All right, and kicking off the draft, of course, we have the inaugural coin flip. Of course, the sitting tight would be heads, and get up and fight would be tails. BigTuck, since you are not here in person, which side do you pick?
Get up and fight all day, baby. Tails never fails.
Get up and fight. Ooh, that is a tails.
Boom!
So, BigTuck, would you like to go first, or would you like to go second?
I'm going to go second. I want the back-to-back.
Ooh, he wants that back-to-back, people. All right. Well, looks like MrComboNumber5 is going to be going first. So, with the very first card, I think this deck needs... I mean, look. Normally you want it with a partner. But whenever I see a commander creature deals damage, you can deal that much to other opponents, and I want to live in the red zone, I think Ketis, Emberclaw Familiar makes so much sense in this deck.
Slam
so colorless red, legendary creature, elemental wizard, uncommon. It's a 1/1 for 30 cents. It does have partner, which is irrelevant for this deck. Whenever a commander, though, you control deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. Now, for clarification, you will not get commander damage on each other opponent, but that doesn't really matter to me. I think if you're just trying to win purely off command damage, you really have to be a super control-y type deck and hopefully get a little luck from your opponents. But if you're just trying to do damage to them, well, Ketis is fine for 2 mana.
I completely agree. I think the little Emberclaw lizard should go in every red deck that cares about damage, really, right? Or specifically commander damage or creature damage. It's so efficient for just 2 mana, and it costs nothing, right? Like even the alt arts, I think, are like 50 cents. So love the lizard. He's just a little lizard baby boy. Not much more to say about that.
All right, Tuck. Well, you get to go again, or get to go for the first time in round 1. Who are you picking?
Again. Round 1, pretty easy slam dunk card here. Unleash Fury. As we talked about, we're trying to do these cantrips. We're trying to play at instant speed. We're trying to play in the red zone. And Unleash Fury at a colorless and a red for an instant doubles the power of target creature till end of turn. It's 26 cents. So Eron's kind of in a weird gap at being at 10 because he can't just kill off commander damage off of 2 hits, right? But if we're playing the way that we think we are, we're going to be playing into buffing him a little bit, giving him some pumperooskies, and then being able for him to slam in. So at this, it's an instant speed. You can trick people out on it if you can get around some flying. Really efficient way to double the damage that he's coming out on top of everything else that we have.
Yeah, love that, considering it was one of my picks. It was actually my 3rd pick. So, there
nice.
You go, you son of a bitch, stealing from me.
Yes.
And, yeah, so the other thing, are we calling him Eron or Eron, or is it Eron?
I say let's go Eron, just to make it easy.
Eron?
Eron.
All right.
Eron. So
Eron. All right, that's Tuck. Why don't you start off round 2 with your next pick?
So again, I thought about throwing some of the red extra turn spells in here, but I realized you don't need them. What we're really looking for is extra combats, right? Not extra turns. So for me, Seize the Day is one of the more efficient and doable ways to do that. So Seize the Day is 3 the colorless and red for a sorcery, untap target creature. After this main phase, there's an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase, and then you can flash it back for 2 colorless and a red. So for me, it's a very efficient way to be able to bash Eron into multiple opponents, or hopefully be able to knock out one person in a turn. Even if it gets countered, you can always flash it back. I like that kind of always as sitting in the graveyard as kind of like an overarching threat, which red doesn't always do a ton.
And the other thing I like about this card, it's the thing that I hate about red, but red's card draw is usually you discarding cards. The nice thing is that its flashback cost is actually less than if you have it in hand.
Exactly.
So it's one of those cards, kind of like anger, that like if you discard it, you're like, I almost like you better in the graveyard.
Absolutely agree. And I just think this pretty much just gives you an extra turn twice.
Sure. All right. Well, Mr. Combo here, rounding out round 2. When you're Voltron, I like the regeneration factor because this actually opens up a cool book for us with Eron to where you can now start to do more enchantment-based stuff because of the regenerate. But you don't want to rely on that because you might not have the 3 red. So let's make sure that we also have some equipments in here that are cheap to equip to our legendary creature because he is expensive. And you know I love this boy, Black Blade Reforged.
Oh, of course.
Let's go 2 colorless legendary
so
artifact
good.
equipment rare. You can get one for 80 cents at a Commander Legends.
Bonkers.
Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control, and for your deck, it's basically equip legendary creature for 3. If it's a non-legendary, it costs 7. So now we are in red. You're not going to be ramping like crazy.
Correct.
But here's the thing: for basically 5 mana, by the time you would be able to put this on your commander, it's probably getting +5/+5 at a minimum.
I was just gonna
Why
say
are
that,
you
yeah.
mad at that?
I think we're gonna have to be. This is a deck that is gonna want to have to consistently hit its land drops because its commander is so big. So even then, 35 might be on the shorter side of the stick. But yeah, Black Raiders Forward is so efficient. If you're playing Voltron, there's no reason not to have it, right? Even if it only costs 4, +4/+4, that's repeatable, is gonna make a huge difference when you're bashing in.
Yep, completely agree. All right, well, we're now going to round 3, and Mr. Combo is going to finish us out with a card that gets around that evasion nonsense. We're talking Teamer
yes.
Battle Rage.
Yes, we are. That's on my list. Damn it.
Colorless red instant. Target creature gains a double strike until end of turn, and then ferocious, which will always happen with your commander. That creature also gains trample until end of turn if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. Also, you might be wondering why I say that's always going to happen with your commander. Well, it's because negative counters. If it gets less than 4 power, he dies. So he will always get to draw a card and get that double strike. So 2 mana, instant speed. It just seems to make a lot of sense, especially for 9 cents.
Yeah, it's so strong. Again, I think this is another kind of staple in these sort of Voltron builds if you have it, right? Being able to flash this in response to blocks, in response to not blocks. It's just so efficient. I think double strike is going to be something that we're going to be seeing a lot of. I think it's going to be really critical for closing out games with Eron.
Yep, for sure. All right, Tuck, why don't you complete round 3?
So, again, we talked about it we talked about this at the deck theory that we did last. Double strike, you're only going to have 1 creature. Blood Mist is going to hit every single time. And it's an enchantment too, so 3 colorless and a red for an enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gains double strike until end of turn. It's about 24 cents. Again, this is not going to be something where you have to make any sort of difficult decision on. It's just going to be something that you're going to be able to go and go and go. It's going to probably get removed in this deck, but again, that's one enchantment removal, as we always talk about, is at a premium. So even if this is just a 3 and then it gets binned, this will open up your other enchantments to be able to stick around for potentially longer.
So something I was actually about to ask you, Tuck. So in this deck, is Blood Mist out? Is there another card that's outclassed Blood Mist for 4 mana to do the double strike?
I don't think in red. There is some in other colors, but I think the other one is for all your creatures, and it costs a little bit more. But in my book, this is going to be your most consistent double strike enabler and the one that you're going to be able to do the most.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if there was like an equipment that does kind of the same thing, but then it always gets double strike and it's like 4 mana, or if there's like a creature that has like activated ability for what. I just wasn't sure if, like how we talked about earlier, you mentioned that Eron might be outclassed by another mono red legend now. I just wasn't sure if Blood Mist is maybe outclassed at 4 mana because it is only giving 1 creature double strike once per rotation.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, I don't think so. I think that's what it boils down to. Not that it comes to the top of head. I'm sure someone out there will correct us and we'll look like real jagoffs.
Well, the real jack-off is about to start round 4, and that's Big Tuck.
It's me, still alive. So as we talked about, we are going to be casting a lot of instants and sorceries, and since we're not playing in the blue realm, we don't have a ton of ways to bring them back. So for me, Finale of Promise is going to be a big late game play. Finale of Promise is X double red for a sorcery. You may cast up to 1 target instant card and or 1 target sorcery card from your graveyard each with mana X or less without paying its mana cost. If it would be cast this way, it'd be put into your graveyard this turn, exile instead. If X is 10 or more, copy each one of those spells twice. You may choose new targets for the copy. Obviously, the 10 is where you want to go because then you can get some double things like with Unleash Fury. But again, there's going to be so many cards in here that are going to be 1 or 2 mana. Being able to pay 3 just to bring back your Unleash, or pay 4 for your Unleash Furies, or pay 3 just to bring 1 back. And if you also get a sorcery out of it to maybe draw some cards or something along those lines, it seems like a pretty efficient way to pull stuff out of your graveyard for $3.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I wasn't really there initially, but I mean, I guess if you literally are just putting it in for like, hey, basically paying a 2 mana tax to get my cantrip back. Okay. I mean, I don't like that we're having to pay a premium plus waste a card, and that's all it's doing. I wish it could at least give us something else. At least, like, in green with Eternal Witness, at least you get a blocker.
You get something
out
back.
of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot. The only other thing I'll say is, like, we talked a lot about the cantrips and the instants to do this, but sorceries are going to be ways that you get your extra combats. So it's not beyond the Shadow of Rome that you could get an extra combat spell and something that Eron's going to be able to smash in on.
That's fair. All right. Well, I'm going to complete round 4, and I am going to talk about Run Amok. Once again, we need ways to get evasion. So for a penny, a colorless red, it's an instant. God. Target attacking creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample until end of turn.
Oof.
So
it's so good.
That's 8 damage getting through. You now have 5 toughness, so maybe you don't even need to regenerate at this point. Maybe they literally threw a 2/2 zombie in front of it. Like, I'll do it, whatever. Okay, well, I'll have 6 get through, and my guy will live. So I think 2 mana, this makes a lot of sense.
Slam dunk. I've actually never even heard of this card, and I think the big point is a lot of the red spells just give plus X or plus whatever and +0, which in Eron is going to come bite you in the back. So like you said, being able to pump that up and give the evasion, so strong for 2 mana.
Yep. All right. Well, I'll be starting off round 5 with literally just a worse version of that card. We're talking about Brute Strength.
Yes.
Colorless red instant. Target creature gets +3/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. So you don't get as much of a but I think any of these cantrips for 1 or 2 mana that give it trample plus a little bit of a buff, I think you need them in Eron. You need ways to get evasion and hopefully be tricksy.
Yeah, it's really strong. Well worth its weight in gold. Again, like, we're going to have ways to bring these instants back from the graveyard, hopefully. I agree, it is just a worse version, but again, like, as we talked about on the cast many times, redundancy is key.
All right, Tuck, what is going to be your round 5 pick?
So just in case we can't get enough out of everything else, I really am going in on this double strike plan. And again, one's a little more greasy than I wish it was. I think Blood Mist is better, or this is a little more slimy or sweaty, but Assault Strobe, 1 red, target creature gains double strike. It was it? Yeah. Again, just about efficiency. 1 red, target creature gains double strike until end of turn. 35 cents. And I do worry a little bit sometimes that we are going to be... Double strike's tricky because you can't stack it, right? You can't stack it for quadruple strike. But I think it's going to be so critical for him to have that it's worth running multiple effects that do this, just in case one of the other ones get countered or blown up or whatever else you may have.
Yeah, not going to argue there.
Pretty easy one there.
Yep. Round 6, go.
Okay, so this is one of your favorites of all time. You've recommended to put this in here. It is my first equipment, and this is one of the ones that really plays around with his regenerate ability. So we are talking about the sword that will end it all, World Slayer. Yeast card, if ever there would be one. The classic. 5 colorless for an artifact equipment. Whenever equipped creature deals damage to a player, destroy all permanents other than World Slayer and equip 5. So I usually don't like this sort of ability because it pretty much just either the game ends and you will win, or the game ends because everyone just scoops it up and wants to go to another one.
But it sounds like the game ends one way or the other.
Exactly, right? So again, we're playing Eron. It's going to be an out of the box less powerful commander than most at the table. So for this, cheesing this out and keeping your guy out and around, being able to kind of do this over and over again to keep the board flat is well worth the investment. It's a big investment. It's very telegraphed, but well worth it when you have a regenerating commander.
Do you think there's something to be said? Now, granted, you'd have to go away from the cantrip side to go more to the equipment side, but red has a lot of effects that exchange artifacts from the graveyard to the battlefield. Do you think it's worth like kind of doing a sub package in there and like, hey, you get rid of my World Slayer, I'll just exchange my sad robot for one or my Soul
I'll
Ring?
pop it back. Yeah. Yeah, and we're not talking about it, but if we are building this enchantment package, something like the Durettis of the world and those sort of things are well worth their weight in gold. Being able to cheat them out, being able to bin your whatever mana rock that you don't need on turn 4 for something that's going to really push through damage and then end the game.
Yep. All right. For me, red, we don't have a lot of ways of protecting our commander in our colors. So this $35 card, unfortunately, is one of the few we can run. Deflecting Swat.
Oh,
kind of need it. 2 colorless red instant, and basically it's free because you're only going to be casting this when your commander's on the battlefield. But it states if you control a commander, you may cast this spell without paying its mana cost, and it says you may choose new targets for target, spell, or ability. I don't think Eron, just like my Esha deck, is going to get a ton of board wipes. I think it's going to be more targeted removal because it is just the one thing.
Correct.
So I think something like this, especially if you're like, because people are going to try to get you in that weird scenario. It's like trying to remove Spore Frog, where it's like, well, if I target Spore Frog, you're going to sack it. But then if you sack it, then I try to target it, it's like you've already put it on the stack, and I don't know what to do now. And so with Eron, with that regenerate effect, people are going to have to start thinking like, okay, do I generous gift it? They spend the 3 red to regenerate. Then I use another one to try to do I use murder at that point to murder it?
Lightning bolt, if you will.
Deflecting Swat will come in and kind of save the day since you already used your mana, and it'll be free. So I think it'll be crucial. I hate that it's $35, but I think you kind of have to have one for this deck.
If you're running Voltron in red, this card is just so strong. So yes, there's one, but there is a sort of budget version of this, which we'll be getting to hopefully at some point in the near future. Very powerful,
not.
Very, very needed.
Well, I am going to go to round 7. And we're talking about Shadow Spear. I mean, come on. Colorless, legendary artifact equipment. It's a rare. You hear about it probably on every other podcast. This is a card I'm surprised hasn't gotten banned, to be frank. Just because everyone plays it.
Yeah.
Equip for 2. Equip creature gets +1/+1, has trample and lifelink, so that's why we're running it. The +1/+1's nice, but it gives us that evasion, and people are going to be hurting us because we're Voltron, and so gaining that life isn't going to be insignificant. You can pay a colorless. Permanents your opponents control lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. I've seen that be relevant from time to time, but really I think you run this $19 card for the initial +1/+1 trample infect or lifelink.
Remember when this was like $5 and we were all like, "Whoa, watch out!
Too expensive,
too expensive to play." If you are running a deck that deals with dealing damage, is there any reason not to run this?
No,
I can't think of one because worst case, it's just like an arcane lighthouse or whatever it's called that's just gonna bend the stuff or. That's gonna like the static effect on it is good in and of itself, right?
So I mean, think about this: board wipe decks will run this.
Yes.
Red zone decks will run this. Life gain decks will run this. I guess Voltron is pretty much red zone, so that kind of encompasses everything. Theft decks would run this. I mean, there are very few decks that you can make a valid argument. Like, really, the only one I can think of off the top of my head with my decks that I own would be Atraxa. This doesn't have a place in her because I'm not even trying to, like, my board wipes are like exile all creatures from the green. I don't even care about the indestructible piece. But most decks probably want Shadow Spear.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that explains the price point, right?
Well, Tuck, round 7, go.
So this is the first kind of Staxy card. I don't think that we're going to be running a bunch of creatures that are going to want to be getting into the red zone. So being able to control the flow of attacks, because this deck is going to die to token decks, right? It's not fast enough to get there. It's going to get overrun. I don't even know how many creatures it's going to end up having. But CMD Tower spoiler card, Silent Arbiter, is going to do bonkers work in this deck. So 4 colors, it's artifact creature construct, just like you said, right? Playing into that artifact theme. It's a 1/5 for about $1.50-ish. No more than 1 creature can attack each combat. No more than 1 creature can block each combat, right? This is going to force our opponents into sitting tight on their turn, so we're not going to get overrun, but also making them really think about what they're going to block with, right? Knowing that we have these things to give the double strike, to give bumps, trample, that sort of thing. This is going to force our opponents to have to make choices of what they're going to block with and how much damage they're actually going to want to soak up.
Any Voltron deck that's not Commander Esha, because this is irrelevant to her, you run Silent Arbiter. So.
Yeah, especially now that it's like under $5 or $10, whatever it used to be.
Yep. Round 8, go.
Okay, so another mono red equipment staple, Godo Bandit Warlord, just doing everything that we're looking for this deck. What? Don't shake your head. We're not going crazy in this, but 5 colorless and a red for legendary creature, human barbarian.
Let me just go infinite, okay?
No, we're not doing that. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an equipment card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. When it attacks for the first time each turn, untap it, and all samurai control. After this is another additional combat phase. So it's about $160 now. You're pretty much going to tutor whatever you want. Your Shadow Spheres, your Swords of blah, blah, blah. Any sort of thing that you want in here, he's going to be able to give you. I do like the fact that he himself can become such a beater in the right way, and we're running all those combat tricks as well. This is kind of like a backup-ish commander. You put a big thing on him, you double his power, you get to attack twice. It's sweaty if you want to think of it that way, but the fact that he tutors you and can do something himself makes him very, very strong in this deck that's very, very linear.
I would much rather just pay 1 red and gamble.
Well, we might be talking about that at a later point. You don't even know.
All right. Well, I'm going to round out round 8 with Embercleave. We're kind of at the boring part.
Oh, God, yes.
4 colorless
so
red, mythic, legendary artifact equipment from that trash set, Throne of Eldraine. Check mark. We did it. It has flash. It has equip for 3. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature you control. That's not... I mean, it sucks that you're going to be basically paying 5 for this.
Yeah.
But... when it ATBs, you get to attach it to target creature you control, so you get around the equip costs. So really, we've gone from a 5-drop to a 2-drop. So it's really just a 2-drop with equip 3. And then equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has double strike and trample. So
yeah, it's insane. Like, it sucks that you're going to have to pay the iron price on it, but this card's just so powerful. I mean, evasion, the double strike like we talked about, you need this. And again, not for nothing, putting them up to 3 will make it harder to chump block for drakes, zombies, and the like.
Yep. All right. Going to round 9, kind of continuing the boring stuff, but this is a reusable. Loxodon Warhammer, 3 colorless, artifact equipment, rare, equipped for 3. Equipped creature gets +3/+0 and has trample and lifelink. So this will tie back to what Tuck was talking about that made that 1 red card so special that it gave the +3/+3. This is still going to keep that toughness at 2, but we do gain trample and we do gain lifelink, and you can regenerate. So, you know, it won't be as steep of an iron price as maybe the World Slayer rigmarole that BigTuck came up with.
And I think normally people would say, like, just run Shadow Sphere, but in this case...
run both?
Run both. Yeah, 100%, no questions asked. It's a 30...
Especially when we're not actually building this in real life. We are spending make-believe money.
Well, we're about to talk about some make-believe money, let me tell you. Big time.
Tuck, why don't you finish out round 9?
All right. I had to put this in here because this is technically a mono red staple, but no one will afford this card. Gauntlet of Might.
Oh my god.
It's expensive. 4 colorless for an artifact. Red creatures get +1/+1. Whatever amount is tapped for mana, its controller adds additional red. There are 2 varietals of this that are technically illegal that you can get for $195. If you want to spend and actually get one that's legal to play, you're dropping a cool $700 on this. It's just that's just a slightly better Gauntlet of Power or whatever else you want. But
I will say this: I like the Magic Online promo art. I don't know if you've hovered over that. That is cool looking.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
It's like still wouldn't pay $700 for it.
It is on the reserved list. It is a piece of Magic history. But pretty much, I think you want these mana doublers in here a lot. He's an expensive commander. The 3 red is also a bunch, and this also pumps him up to, again, that 6/3, which is a lot more manageable when you're getting in the red zone. So I'm guessing if you're building this deck, you probably won't want to spend $700 on one card, because that will be 100 times the price of the entire deck.
Wouldn't you just go Gauntlet of Power?
Oh, you absolutely could. Or Cage Sun, but if we have no budget, if we don't have to build this, or God help us pull this out of our own collection, might as well put it in.
Sure, I guess. I mean, I personally would just go Gauntlet of Power over Might outside of budget, because Gauntlet of Might states whenever a mountain is tapped for mana, you get an extra red, so your opponent's playing the dual lands. will now get that. Or even if you run Blood Moon, they would then get that. But Gauntlet of Power, it's off basic land if it produces red. So you'd be able to avoid your opponents getting any type of a benefit, or it'd at least be very minimum.
But just think, for $694, you can get one that costs 1 mana less.
Tuck, just start round 10.
All right. This is another one. It fits very well with my Bandit Warlord. Another great equipment, Tenzo Godo's Maul. Tenza, 3 colorless for legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. As long as it's legendary, it gets +2/+2. And as long as it's red, it gets trample and has equip 1. So for a 4-mana investment, you're getting +2, you're getting +3/+3 and trample on your boy. That makes him into a huge threat. That's going to make it easier to get to that magic number of like 11 for your double strikes and everything else that stacks in here.
I like it.
$2. I think this card has pretty much gone up in price pretty consistently, but evidently it's still not breaking the bank.
Huh. I should really put this card in my Neheb deck.
Oh, yeah. Slam dunk.
Seems like an absolute slam dunk.
You don't have a copy of this?
I don't.
Oh.
Never even heard of it.
Unreal.
All right. Well, I'm going to complete round 10 with one of my favorite equipments of all time, Sword of Feast and Famine. We'll get it out of the way. 3 colorless, artifact equipment, mythic, equipped for 2. It has equipped creature gets +2/+2, protection for black and green. And here's actually why I like it in the deck. And I run this card in decks that hurt for ramp. So whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, they discard a card, but you get to untap all lands you control.
Yeah.
That's why I think this card, I mean, it is a $63 card for a reason.
Jeez.
The card's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I run this in my blue decks, my red decks, my white decks. I run it whenever I need to untap those lands to get the most value, because maybe I'm not running 25 mana rocks or 15 ways to ramp, or maybe my colors literally can't do either. So I think this is a slam dunk. Plus, if you want to look at some other things, it does protect you from arguably 2 of the most powerful colors in Magic, black and green.
It's insane. It's insanely strong. I'm very glad I actually cracked one of these, so then I can just proxy them for all my other decks or playtest them or whatever you want. I think really when you're building this out, you're going to want all the swords of X and Ys, but again, that's what, a $500 investment?
Yeah, it's absurd. But we'll be moving on to round 11 with another Sword of, but a lot cheaper than its counterparts. Still, it always blows my mind when we look up this card because it is legendary. Sword of the Animist. 2 colorless, legendary artifact equipment, rare, equipped for 2. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. But the more important thing, whenever it attacks, you may search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. Tuck's talked about a lot of double strike. You're going to be getting...
Yep.
You're not going to get the extra combat damage because it's not a combat damage trimmer like for the Sword of Feast and Famine, but we did also talk about just extra combats, and that will get that creature's attacks triggers, and you need ways to ramp in mono red and mono white, and Sword of the Animus is kind of the premier way to do it.
Yeah, I agree. It's still $5 though, so don't worry about that, even though it's been reprinted a gazillion times. So I'm sure you have one. Great edition. Again, kind of a staple in all non-green Voltrons, right? To some extent.
Yeah. All right, Tuck, why don't you complete round 11?
All right, so we're going to, again, this is a card that's going to stop token decks from completely running over you. It's pretty basic, but crawl space. 3 colorless for an artifact. No more than 2 creatures can attack you each combat. I am just worried playing this deck that we're going to get outclassed by Drakes. We're going to get outclassed by Elves. We're going to get outclassed by Goblins. And being able to prune some of that damage away on an artifact that doesn't die to a board wipe a la Silent Arbiter. Pretty efficient. The downside is that this card is now $12, which totally sucks. But again, protecting against the weakness of this deck, Crawl Space is going to do it very efficiently.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it was one of the cards that I kind of looked at, but then I was like, I don't know. I think if you either have one or have the budget and your play group is very combat-y, then I definitely think you get a crawl space for this deck. Like, our play group isn't so much like attacking with 10 or 15 creatures, because those people have kind of left our play group. Right. So for me, even I run crawl space in my Lavinia deck, and even that, it's like, do I still want to even run this? Because it's more spell-based, and I'm going to get one guy unblockable in to kill you.
Right.
So yeah, definitely this is one that I think we would call in deck therapy the slimy pick. Like, evaluate your play group and kind of see where this may fit.
Completely agree on that. I also had this in a game I played recently, and it did literally nothing. So what are you going to do?
Well, I think round 12 will do something. And Tuck, what would that card be?
So I kind of came out with my picks and then randomized my list a few times just so that we had some of the basics. And then I went through and made some changes of things I want to talk about. Real quick, Solemn Simulacrum, 4 colorless, artifact creature golem. When it enters the battlefield, you tutor up a basic land. Tutor up a basic land, put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. When it dies, you draw a card. Like I said, I don't know how many creatures we're going to end up running in this deck, but it is good that we at least have another blocker on top of Eron, who's going to be getting the red zone, and he's not going to be doing very little, if any, blocking.
I completely agree. I mean, I honestly just look at Sad Robot, and every other deck is 4 mana. It's going to ramp me, and I'm going to draw a card, and I'm going to prevent some sort of damage at some point. And I'm okay with that for 4 mana. That's fine.
Completely agree on that.
All right. Well, I'm going to finish out round 12 with once again, we're still kind of in our basics. Whisper Silk Cloak. You need ways to get this guy through. You need evasion. So 3 colorless, artifact equipment. Equipped creature can't be blocked and has Shroud. Now, that will hurt because we would like to target him with stuff. But I will say, forcing your opponents to go from board wipes and targeted removal to just board wipes is still pretty much worth it. And you can still regenerate if needed.
Absolutely. And like we talked about, we're going to have, we could play Whisper Silk, equip, then just play it, not equip it, equip him up with some equipment, and then go into the red zone with him. And again, the unblockable is good enough when he's dealing 5 commander damage at a run.
Yep. All right, round 13. I'm going to be going with, it's a card we actually don't see ton played in our local play group, but it's still 250. Trailblazers Boots. 2 colorless, artifact equipment, uncommon, equipped for 2. Equipped creature has non-basic land walk. Someone at the table is going to have a non-basic land. I know our play group has gone more to the basics. I see a lot more of those plays, but someone's going to have it. I think this is a lot like Crawl Space. You look at your play group and it's like, you know what, there's enough greedy assholes here that this will do something at least to one person each game. I say you go for it.
This is on my list as well. I completely agree. This is gonna turn him unblockable against somebody, right?
Somebody.
And then if even it boils down to that person has to waste resources because he's scared about dying, so be it. You can recast your commander at a later date.
Absolutely. All right, Tuck, finish us out on 13.
So this is another super efficient newer equipment. So Zephyr Boots is going to help us in a lot of different ways. So it's pretty basic. 1 colorless for an artifact equipment. It's out of Strixhaven for about 8 cents. Equipped creature has flying, which is a premier evasion, right? Obviously, it's not unblockable, not as good as everything else. But when an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card, and equip 2. So it's still that same kind of like red bullshit quote unquote card draw, but the fact it also turns Eron into something that has evasion, which again I think is kind of his like biggest weakness out the gates at such an efficient rate, seems like it's going to really do a lot of damage in.
Yeah, that's fair. So, you know, it's kind of funny because in my head I was like, well, why wouldn't we just go Cobbled Wings? So Zephyr Boots is 1 to play, 2 to equip. Cobbled Wings is 2 to play, 1 to equip. So it's kind of interesting. It's literally the same investment. It's just Cobbled Wings is slightly better if you plan on your commander dying a lot. And then Zephyr Boots is better if it's like, nah, I don't think it's going to die that much, but I want to draw the cards. So
exactly.
Interesting parallels. Tuck, round 14, go.
You hate this card, but this is going to be something.
Any cards.
We're going to be playing a lot of lands in here, and we're going to have. I feel like there's going to be turns where we can't play our commander, we can't do anything else, we just need to refill our hand. Endless Atlas does it at a pretty decent rate, in my opinion, especially in red. So 2 colorless for an artifact, 2 colorless tap, draw a card, activate if you only control 3 or more lands with the same name.
So dumb.
We're gonna be running 30 mountains probably, and then a handful of other ones. But I think that this is going to be something that we can start drawing at least a little bit. There's a bunch of other artifacts that do this sort of thing. I just think that in this deck, we're never going to be beholden to the restriction that Endless Atlas is forcing on us.
See, I just don't think this card's a $2.60 card. This seems like a bulk rare to me.
It should be. But I think I don't know. I don't really,
because it's even a
either.
one-time use, like
right, or once a turn,
or
right?
once a rotation use. It's not even like it untaps on each person's untap step, or whenever someone plays a land that shares a name with the ones that you have, this thing untaps.
Untap it. Yeah.
There's nothing there. It's just every turn, pay 2 mana, draw a card, but only if you have this stupid ass condition.
Well, that condition will be made in this deck, I'm pretty sure.
All right. Well, I'll complete round 14 with a fairly new card. Don't see it actually played a lot, at least in our play group. Commander's Plate. Seems great for this deck. Colorless to cast, artifact equipment, mythic. Wow, $14.
I think that's why you don't see it. I think that's why you don't see it often.
Equip Commander for 3. Now you can't equip other stuff for 5, but it'll be going on Eron for 3 mana.
Yep.
Equip creature gets +3/+3 and has protection from every color that's not your commander's color identity. So basically, protection from Woo Bug.
Woo Bug.
Woo Bug. So, yeah, this seems like an auto-include in any Voltron mono-color deck.
Yeah, I think to your point, it definitely starts falling off the more colors you put in. But again, is this not an Esha? Oh, it doesn't matter because it already has it, kind of.
Well, she has protection from creatures, not from colors. Yeah. So it actually would do something in Esha, because it would protect it from the instants that aren't white. But the reason I wouldn't put that in there is I run every other Sword of, so I kind of have my protection from colors figured out.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, round 15, we're talking Hammer of Nazan, baby.
Oh, God,
let's go with another hell of an expensive card. So, Hammer of Nazan is 4 colorless, legendary artifact equipment. It is a rare $13. Equip for 4. Equip creature gets +2/+0 and has indestructible. I think a lot of people forget the indestructible part because the first paragraph is so intense. Whenever Hammer of Nazan or another equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach that equipment to target creature you control. So free equips, you're not going to say no to that, and being able to give Eron indestructible, that's saving you on that 3 mana for the regenerate. Woof. This card's great.
Yeah. It's bonkers. I mean, it's worth every cent of the $13. And that is what kind of sucks when you build Voltron. You just know that you're going to be shelling out for all these big powerhouse equipments and artifacts. But, I mean, it's your choice to build the deck, right? So who's going to be angry?
All right, Tuck, complete our round 15.
All right. So I kind of cheesed this one.
Okay.
Because technically it is a land.
It's okay. I kind of did a land for my 40 through 50 if I need it.
Okay.
But it's lightning bolt on a land, so that's fine. Okay. It's fine.
So this one is Kazul's Fury and Kazul's Cliff. So
it seems
2
terrible.
colorless and a red. No, it's not. It's great. Instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature, and then it deals damage equal to the sack's creature's power to any target. And then you can play it for land as a mountain that enters the battlefield tapped. So for me, I think if you're playing against blue and white specifically, you're already kind of up against the wall because they're going to have a lot of exile and bounce effects.
Okay.
With the regenerate won't help you, right?
Okay.
But if you pump up Eron's power such that he's like an 8/8, maybe even bigger depending on how big you stack it up, 16/16. If it's going to die, instead of regenerating it, this gives you an out to be able to sacrifice it and then deal a bunch of damage to somebody else.
Here's the issue. Eron already costs 5, so he's hella expensive to recast.
Correct.
All the equipment that you're doing is more resources you're pouring into him.
Also correct.
Exile, I agree. You would rather probably have him sacrifice an exile, but bounce, I'd rather him go to my hand and avoid commander tax.
And then, that's a fair point. But for me, if we're swapping this in for a land, right? We cut one mountain and put this in. It at least gives you an out.
I think you just wanted an excuse to get a Kazul card in the deck. This was your way to do it. I see through your shrouded veil.
I do really like Kazul. He's not a good. Well, he's too greasy in this deck. But anyways,
Tuck, round 16. What do you got?
So this is under the idea that you're going to be playing a specific kind of mountain. But it has to be snow, because this is a snow boy. We're talking about glacial crevasses. Getting in that crevasse. 2 colorless and a red for an enchantment. It says sacrifice a snow mountain. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. $2.32. So for me, this is kind of like the mid-range play where you're not trying to get anything too crazy. You're not trying to do anything too goofy. You kind of have your board set up. Maybe you have some leftover lands, and someone's swinging in with you with an army, right? Just easy at instant speed, sack a mountain, and then you get to live another turn, right? For me, it's kind of not ideal because you don't have a lot of ways to ramp, as we've talked about, but you will be hitting your land drops. You will need ways to survive when Eron gets killed, and that's where I think this card kind of slots in.
Yeah, I'm actually fine with this. You need ways in Voltron to either deter people from attacking you or prevent that damage. And I hate fog effects, but this is a multiple use fog effect, which that I'm cool with. It does suck that you're sacrificing the mountains. So once again, I would recommend, if anyone built this deck, evaluate your play group. And if it is something that you're having to use this effect a lot, you may need to look at tweaking your mana base to include more crack lands, and then maybe put a Crucible of Worlds in the deck. Because it's like, if I'm usually sacrificing 7 mountains a game to stay alive, well, I probably run Terramorphic Expanse and or whatever the other one is, the ones I don't play. Yeah, you probably have some of those Fable Passages, so it's like, what, you could get some use, but then, Crucible, it's like, well, if I'm sacrificing 25% of my mana base, do I want 1 card in so I can get that stuff back? Possibly. Yeah. And the second point is you could then talk about how Lucille de Fixdaughter, leader of the Order of the White Shield, doesn't have a magic card, but Bergamot does. He has 2 of them.
You're back on the Bergamot train.
I'm
not even upset about it.
I've never even left.
It's still on.
All right. Well, I'm going to close out round 16 with a card that I find very, very cool. So we're talking about Stratascythe. Don't know if you've heard of it. I never heard of it. 3 colorless, artifact equipment rare, equipped for 3. It has Imprint. When Stratascythe enters the battlefield, search your library for a land card, exile it, then shuffle your library. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land on the battlefield with the same name as the exiled card. So if now if you go away from the snow effect, because I would have gone snow as well, but I like Stratascythe better. So if you go with basic mountains, anyone that's playing basic mountains, baby, you're getting huge. Yeah. Snow, you got to look at your play group. Our play group, I would not feel comfortable doing snow because I'm kind of the only person that runs snow lands. But some people have been cracking enough booster boxes over the last couple years that they have tons of snow lands from Modern Horizons. So maybe they've just started putting those in. Then you could probably do it. But man, Stratascythe, it's kind of like Blackblade Reforged. It's a lot to get down and get equipped, but by the time you do, it's probably going to be buffing your commander at least +4 to +7. That's a lot.
Easy enough. And I think that we both agree. I like the fact that this goes into your library to exile a card as opposed to one from your hand. Because you're going to have a gazillion mountains, so you also get to thin your library, quote unquote, which is not the best, most efficient way to do it, but it helps.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to go to the new round 17, the year that I lost my car keys. I just had no idea where they went. So I'm going to be adding Key to the City to the deck. Got to be unblockable, baby. Plus, you get to draw cards, kind of. 2 colorless artifact, tap, discard a card. Up to 1 target creature can't be blocked this turn. Whenever Key to the City becomes untapped, you may pay 2 colorless. If you do, draw a card. Hey, you're getting through to the red zone. You don't have to do it. It's not like each upkeep, discard a card, target creature gets unblockable, because I know reds can't really bring a lot back from the graveyard. But it could be something like, hey, you look open, I swing. Oh, I'm going to flash in this. Oh, well, while you do that, let me go ahead and just make Eron unblockable. Just be safe.
Yep. And again, not for nothing, paying 2 to draw a card is what your least favorite card we've talked about so far, Endless Atlas, does. So it's the same thing on a more efficient equipment sort of artifact. I don't know. I know it's an artifact, but I always feel like this is equipment, like a sneaky one, right?
It is
it's equipment without
sneaky equipment.
It's sneaky, spooky equipment.
All right. Well, Tuck, what is your round 17 pick?
So this is a premier way to start casting stuff from your graveyard. Again, and this is like kind of your late game play. So Past in Flames is going to let you turn all of these damage doublers and all these other cantrips that we have into being able to get back into. So 3 colorless and a red for sorcery. Each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. The flashback is equal to its mana cost. And then Past in Flames also has flashback for 4 colorless and a red. So again, I think this is not something you this is something you can do in a pinch if you just need to like draw cards and you're playing, Cathartic Reunion or Faithless Lootings or whatever. But for me, this is the late game. Okay, I already did the gimmick, right? It got countered, and now I don't have a lot of ways to do this. But all the ones we've talked about so far, Battle Rage, your other ones are all pretty low mana cost. So if we're getting into turn 8, turn 9, turn 10, and you just need that final push, this is going to let you telegraph what you're going to do and hopefully get Eron to the point where he's going to knock out the last person or at least put you back in fighting stance.
So I looked at this card. The only reason I didn't include it in my list is, like, I've played mono red and I've played it in a deck that is supposed to generate a lot of mana, and I don't ever seem to have a massive excess amount of red mana when I'm in like a Voltron type situation. So I would just worry about, like, am I going to cast and only get one?
Yeah.
I feel like usually Past in Flames is like, hey, I'm casting like 6 things out of my graveyard. Watch out.
But if you have Gauntlet of Might out, right? If you paid the Piper for that, then you're going to have piles of mana.
But wouldn't Underworld Breach just be a better option?
Yeah, maybe. I guess it depends on how much you have in your graveyard. Because you still have to do the exile costs on it.
Sure. But, like, Past in Flames only targets instants and sorceries. At least Underworld Breach gets the enchantments, the artifacts, lands.
Is that on your list? I'm guessing by no, by how... Oh, it is?
No, it is.
You're so cavalier with it, and it's still something we might talk about. So far, by the way, I've only had 3 matches on this.
That would be correct. Unleash Fury, Assault Strobe, and Sad Robot from my side.
Yep. Wild. So, okay. Anyways, moving on to round 18. We talked about this at length on one of our podcasts. I don't remember specifically what it was. This is going to do bonker stuff in this deck. Smoke.
Oof. I had a flashback. I thought you were about to say smokestack.
Smokestack? No. Just smoke, baby. 2 red. Players can't untap more than 1 creature during their untap.
Oh, I love this.
Doesn't do anything negative to us, right? Just doesn't do it. We untap Eron, and he's going to go bash someone that then swung out and tried to knock someone out, and then they Teferi's Protection or whatever. 2 mana for this card is gonna do you so much work in this deck. Slows people down. Sorry,
for the low cost of 600, it looks like euros, you can get a limited edition alpha copy.
Audible gasp. What a giveaway. But yes, smoke, very efficient. It's $6 for a normal copy if you want to get one. I would pick one up because you're going to find a deck.
Yeah, I mean, $3.82. I'd get one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
for sure. That's cheap.
Cheap.
All right. I'm going to complete round 18 with a card that BigTuck's just going to shake his hat at, and the goad is going to be so excited. We're talking about everyone's favorite group hug assault suit. 4 colorless artifact equipment, uncommon, equip for 3. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may have that player gain control of equipped creature until end of turn. If you do, untap it. You may say, Mr. Combo, why would you do that? Well, number 1, it's only a 40-cent card. And number 2, it states, equipped creature gets +2/+2. Haste is irrelevant. Can't attack you or a planeswalker you control, and can't be sacrificed. So, how about you just give a bare minimum a 7/4 Eron to your opponents that they can then be tempted to swing at. But most likely, it's not going to be a 7/4 Euron. It's going to be like a 10/6. Or what would that be? A 10... Yeah, 10/6. Or,
yes,
a 12/8. It's going to be big, and it's going to have double strike or trample or some life link.
Unblockable, right?
Unblockable. Yeah. And so it's just going to make people, very much like how the Goad likes to do with his Kozilek deck, or sorry, Emrakul deck. Apologies. The way that I like to do in my Kyrnos and Tiro deck, and hell, like I like to do in my Garza Gold deck. Sometimes there's these commanders that you're cool passing it around because your opponents become so greedy after whatever it does that they just can't say no. And I think Assault Suit's one of those cards that help you get there.
And to your point, a lot of the things we've been talking about are instant speed, right? So someone's like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll take 7. Mm-hmm. It sucks. And then you're like, no, you'll actually take 14.
Yeah.
Or you're actually going to take 10 or whatever you want, right? This lets you be reactive with your instants instead of telegraphing them in advance.
Yep. And to go ahead and do the next round, since I already talked about it, we'll just do Underworld Breach.
Just get it out of the way.
Yeah, well, it was in my first 33, so I was going to be, or 32,
Sure.
so I was going to talk about it no matter what. Underworld Breach, it's a colorless red, so it's half the price of Past in Flames. Enchantment, rare, at the beginning of your end step, or of the end step, sacrifice Underworld Breach. So for paying 2 and having to get rid of it at end of turn, what you get is each non-land card in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. So the reason I really like this is now it opens up our cantrips, it opens up our equipment, it opens up maybe the creatures that we might need
Some
to
mana
do.
rocks, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things you could do. Now, you can't get your lands back because it is cast, but that's extra fodder to then exile. So I think Underworld Breach is critical. I think I run it in my Neheb deck, so that way I can like repurpose like X spells and stuff like that.
Sure, yeah, right.
But yeah, I know Commander Cookout, they love this card. I know everyone does. But especially when you're in Voltron, being able to have access to a lot of that single use stuff again is really big.
Yeah, agreed. I would run both, to be honest with you, because I don't know. I think people see Underworld Breach and just get scared because it does have that boogie monster kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
So it is insanely strong, right? You can bend lands. You've discarded from the Key to the City, all these other different effects. It's just insanely good.
It's so good. All right, Tuck, complete it. Round 19.
Complete it. 19.
What do you think you're going to talk about?
Very easy. Relentless Assault. 2 colorless, 2 red. Sorcery. Untap all creatures that attack this turn. After this main phase, there's additional combat phase followed by additional main phase. It's an extra turn. It's 4 mana. Take an extra turn in this deck, right?
Makes sense.
Nothing too exciting there. It's just very, very efficient. Run this, and your Seize the Days. You're going to be able to take a lot of extra combats and knock people out.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Round 20. We're almost at legal drinking age. What are we going with?
So this is in addition to, and if you can't afford Deflecting Swat, you're going to be able to pay 1 red for the same effect. So Bolt Ben, this is a Tomer special. 3 colorless and a red for an instant. This spell costs 3 less to cast if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. Change the target of spell or ability with a single target. So again, it's 42 cents. So Deflecting Swat is $32. This is 1 red mana for a very similar effect. You're always going to be able to trigger it if you have a commander out, which, like we said, is very important. Same thing. See also Teamer Battle Rage. Very efficient card. Going to protect you. Going to be able to do some shenanigans with just 1 red.
All right. I mean, I see where you're going a little bit. I see it.
What do you mean? This card's incredible. It's amazing.
All right.
All right.
Rounding out round 20. None of these make sense. So I thought I'd be funny, everyone. On the fly, I'm sitting here doing these numbers, and I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty sure Bingo has like little like catchphrases like 21, B21. I'd rather be 21 instead of 45 or something like that. So I was like, oh, let me see if I can look up something and just get Tuck off. None of these make sense. It says for 20, it just says 1 score. 20, 1 score. I don't get it. Or 21, Royal Salute.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that works.
No,
that
or 25, duck and dive. 25, guess you have to duck and dive. 26, guess you should pick and mix. These are terrible. I'm sorry.
Was this off the geriatrics websites that you subscribe to?
Yes, 1,000%.
Or what is it? The AARP?
Oh, I love me some AARP. All right. Well,
what do you got for 20?
Yeah, I'm going to move on from 20, try to get us back on track. I'm going to talk about a land that actually has some pretty cool utility for this deck. Cathedral of War. It's a land from M13. Yeah. It comes in tapped, which sucks, but it does tap for a colorless, and it has Exalted on it, just stapled on the body. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Your commander is always going to be attacking alone. So basically, you've just turned your 5/2 into a 6/3 for literally no investment at all, other than the 97 cents to buy one.
And because Eron costs that 3 colorless, it's not that backbreaking, right? You're going to be able to run these sort of lands in here pretty easily.
All right, moving to round 21, we're going to talk about a card that I bet will probably shock Tuck that I'm talking about, but it's another land, but it's a good utility one. I think we should put War Room in the deck. It's a land. Taps for a colorless. It's a rare. It says 3 tap. Pay life equal to the number of colors in your commander. Color's identity, draw a card. The only reason I'm okay with this, other the other ones, is because at least you could use it as just a land.
As a land,
yes.
yeah.
You don't have to just like pay 2, pay 1 life to draw a card. It's at least you could use it for other stuff.
Yeah, this is really good. I think this is almost like a borderline 1 or 2 color staple. Being able to draw a card at will for 3 and take an incidental life. Pretty strong.
Yeah, but I would not recommend running it in a 5-color deck and paying 5 life to draw a card and pay 3 mana. I might call you a fool.
You might be a fool.
All right, Tuck, 21. Let's have some fun.
Ooh, there you are. Yeah, you don't need no list. This is also a very expensive one, but it's gonna help out a lot with trying to close out the game. Savage Beating. 3 colorless, double red for an instant, $37. Cast this only during your turn and only during combat. Choose 1. Creatures you control gain double strike until end of turn, and then untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there's initial combat phase. Obviously, it's a pretty big mana investment, but the idea is that if you're getting to the late style of game, being able to dump all this mana into this is going to let you knock out one person, right? The double strike, he's going to have trample or evasion. This is how you're going to kind of push through the game. It sucks because you're only attacking with one thing, so it's a little overcosted, but at instant speed, pretty strong.
I don't know. I mean, 7 mana, get an extra combat, and double strike. It sounds about right. I feel like if you were to do an equipment, that's kind of what you would pay to do an equipment onto a creature. Yeah, you only get to do it once, but 7 mana to pretty much kill one person.
Well, and it's like you always say, right? Where it's like, would you pay Relentless Assault and Temur Battle Rage and pay 1 more mana for it, right?
Yeah.
And 1 card at 1 shot.
Yep. And the Relentless Assault sorcery speed, this is all instant speed. So it's literally, would you pay for those cards and just pay 1 mana to have the flexibility to do it both anytime you want? I think most people would probably say yes.
Yeah, agreed. 100%.
All right. Tuck, we're at 22. Why don't you give me a looky-loo? That wasn't good.
That was sweaty. That one was sweaty. Hazardous Monument. Again, this is kind of a meat and potatoes thing. 3
this
colorless
thing's
for legendary
trash.
artifact.
It's so bad for the deck.
Red spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. We are going to have some creatures in here, even though they're utility, but mostly this just costs his command. This just makes Eron's commander cost 1 less. We're only going to be running
play
all
Ruby
the other
Medallion.
things into it. We are going to have Ruby Medallion. We're going to have all of it. It's an expensive commander in red. We need every single thing that's going to push that down as much as we possibly can.
God. So disappointed
Telling
in you.
you.
So disappointed.
Oh, please. All
you
had 2 lands in here, you crazy person.
Well, rounding out round 22, I'm actually going to be talking about one of our new modal cards from Kaldheim. We're going to be putting in Birgi, God of Storytelling.
Oh, God,
so,
yes.
2 colorless red, legendary creature god. It's a rare. It's a 3/3. You can get one for about $6. Whenever you cast a spell, add a red. Until end of turn, you don't lose the mana as steps and phases end. It does have a boasting effect, but we don't have any boast, so we'll just move past it. And then you could play it for the other side for 4 colorless red to Harnfell, Horn of Bounty. It's a legendary artifact rare, and it has a just static effect. Discard a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You will play those cards this turn. Here's how I look at Birgi for this deck. The front side for 3. We talked a lot about those cantrips. You could eventually kind of get these cantrips in your cost reducers to where the things are kind of just free, and you can almost kind of play out your hand and kill one person on the spot. I like that. But then also, so 3 mana, I'm not trying to kill anyone. Well, 5 mana, I just need cards. I need to play stuff because Voltron is very much play your hand. You're not holding anything back outside of... Maybe you don't want to overload too much onto Eron and make him too juicy of a target. So being able to discard your worthless lands, to exile cards, be able to maybe play those things. We talked about Underworld Breach, Past in Flames. You can kind of almost set up to where, hey, I got Past in Flames in hand. Let me actually discard these other things down to exile. Still don't have it. Okay, I'll cast Past in Flames, get that stuff back out.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. It's so efficient. being able to stack stuff on top of it, and it's a blocker, not for nothing, right? Like, we need those in this deck.
Completely agree. All right. Well, going to round 23. 23 is not the GOAT. I will be adding, Michael Jordan dig.
You really got him. He's listening to this podcast right now, and he's going to be furious.
He's pissed. So, Tuck, I got to get a Planeswalker in here, man. Come on.
I was wondering if you were going to do that.
So, Koth of the Hammer, I think actually makes a lot of sense in here, or in a lot of mono red Voltron type stuff. So, 2 colorless red. You get a 3 valued Planeswalker. You can get one for about $5.50, and it has 3 effects. Comes in at that 3 loyalty. You get +1, untap target mountain. It becomes a 4/4 red elemental creature until end of turn. It's still a land. I like that a lot because unlike Nissa usually just permanently turns it into a land. This doesn't.
Right.
So really, it's just +1, get a mana to your mana pool. Because your opponents in this deck are not saving targeted removal for a mountain. They're saving it for Eron when you can't regenerate. So that's great. -2, get a red to your mana pool for each mountain you control. Woof. What's that? Every 3 turns, then, you're getting 7, 8, 9 mana for free. All pluses. -5, I actually think this could do something for your deck, or for this deck. You get an emblem with mountains you control have tap. This land deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Man, I'm going to combat. I got trample, but you're combo blocking me with 7 1/1 elves. Well, let me just start picking them all off until I can just get through for free. So I think Koth of the Hammer is going to bring so much versatility to this deck. And because we are playing Voltron, it is a distraction from our life total.
Completely agree. And if you play this late game, you could -2. You pay 4, -2, get 7 back, right? If you want to go and keep going into your thing. It's a really, really, really strong card. I think this is like borderline mono red standard.
Wow.
It's up there. It's up there for me.
Well,
but
considering I've never seen
what
even you
playing.
play it, I'm shocked to hear you say that.
It's in ready?
It's in maybe?
I don't know.
All right, Tuck. Well, bring us home with your 23. I wonder if I could plant you a tree.
I was going to say you're 23 and me. We're talking DNA tests here. This is one that I had never heard of before. We've seen this in green, but not that I'd seen in red. Granite Grip. 2 colors in red for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchant creature gets +1/+0 for each mountain you control.
Like that.
Again, it kind of sucks because it's not going to make him any more susceptible to dying to a Drake, but you play this, you attack with Eron. The next turn, you're going to buff him a bunch and then still have the 3 left to regenerate if you need to. So for 3 mana, I think it's going to give you minimum, +3, maximum +8, somewhere in that range for a pretty reasonable cost. And it's 12 cents.
Well, I mean, basically imagine it, guys. Whatever Blackboard Reforge is giving you, this is probably giving you the exact same, maybe -1 or 2. So that's pretty cool. Also, depending on the direction you're building this deck, there are 2 different arts. So if you're going cutesy, I'm just kind of fun. You got like this nice fat guy. Looks like
with a giant
Hellboy.
With the Hellboy. He's got the Hellboy punch. Yeah.
I mean, kind of, but that's an actual glove. That's not his hand.
Yeah.
But if you want to go, I'm more ruthless and hardcore, look at the Urza copy of this. And literally, it's this guy in kind of like a Christ pose, but just getting literal stones attached to his flesh from every direction. Very hardcore, very metal.
And I love the flavor art on the old one. There's beauty in the desert, but it's best of you from afar.
Or the first one, it's better because it's like so like nonchalant. The fat guy just says, "Let me introduce you to Rocky." Wow.
Punch. Got it. Mono red.
All right, Tuck. Well, give us round 24. I'd just like you to know that I adore.
Oh, that's very kind of you. I had never heard of this card before, and it's $11. This came out before equipments even existed for Arcadian Mass Power Matrix. 4 colorless for an artifact. Tap. Target creature gets +1/+1, gains flying, first strike, and trample till end of turn. What a beating. You get 2 kinds of evasion. You pump them up to 6, which is close to 7, right? Like we're trying to get to.
Yep.
Gets them back in lightning bolt range as usual. And being able to do this just once a turn for your commander is going to make him such a threat over and over and over again.
I really like it. That's a very,
strong.
very cool card. I had never even heard of that. I mean, I
Me
wish
neither.
it wasn't like $11.50. That's a little pricey.
I know it's up there, but again, just the value. You're going to be putting this on Eron every turn, and he's just going to continue to bash fates. But don't worry, Mr. Combo. If the $11.50 isn't enough, you can get the foil for $200.
Well,
so there you have it.
All right, let's go.
Don't mind if I do.
All right. Well, I'm going to finish out round 24 with another kind of meat and potatoes card, but I think it could be built to do some pretty exciting things. Runaway Steamkin, colorless red,
yes.
creature elemental. It's a 1/1. If you cast a red spell, if Runaway Steamkin has fewer than 3 +1/+1 counters, put a +1/+1 counter on Runaway Steamkin, and then you can remove 3 to add 3 red to your mana pool. We talked about the cantrippy type stuff. We're in mono red. We're going to be getting it a lot. I mean, if we could get Runaway Steamkin to happen like every other turn, I think it's great for the deck.
Yeah. I got destroyed by this in this guy's Zada Hedron Grinder deck I played on Tuesday. He got to do this like 6 times in a row. And granted, it's not the same deck, but I think this is going to let you get a ton of value and have really explosive turns, like you said.
Well, another thing that I was very poo-pooey on this card for a long time, but I have now started to play it in my Zafi deck, and I think the card is pretty amazing. Mana Geyser. I think
It's
we put
incredible.
Mana. It's incredible. 3 colorless, red,
It's
red,
so strong.
sorcery. Add a red for each tapped land your opponents control. Enough said.
It's like unbeatable. It's the most. I think it's the most efficient mana ramp in red. The only times where you get burned on this is if you're playing get it red. The only time you get burned on this one is if you're playing multiple colors and you need blue or white or whatever. But here, don't matter.
Yep.
You're gonna get 16 mana off this and then go completely berserk.
And I find it hilarious because I was just wondering, like, man, this seems like such a multiplayer card. It was first printed in 5th Dawn. Like, this was made for 1v1. And I'm sure back then it was like, oh, 5 mana, they maybe break even. Maybe they get 1 or 2. It's like, oh, you didn't think about Commander where I'm going to get like 18 out of this.
Maybe Storm. I don't know. That is a good point, though. I would never play this one-on-one, but what do I know?
Yeah. All right, Tuck, give us 25. I would like to send you a high 5.
You're rhyming 5 with 5. You don't want to stay alive, go down to a dive bar, but this is an uphill joke because we're fighting an uphill battle.
Whoa.
We also talked about this. I think Squee brought this one up. 2 colorless and a red for an enchantment. Creatures played by your opponents enter the battlefield tapped.
Bought a bunch of them.
So again, suck at token decks, suck at Voltron decks, suck at anything but Planeswalkers decks. This is going to be backbreaking when it doesn't affect you at all.
And Tuck, do you remember your little combo that you did earlier with this?
Isn't it this in Smoke?
Yeah. Smoke, you can only untap
yeah.
up to 1 creature. This is going to have all their creatures come in tapped. So it's like, hope you got an enchantment removal, bro, because it's going to be Voltron time.
We're playing Mono Red Enchantment Voltron. There it is. How many more? And Cantrip. Mono Red Voltron Cantrip with Eron, with our boy.
Goodness. All right. Well, Tuck, give us round 26.
All right. I got some meat and potato ones coming up here, so forgive me. Hopefully I'll get into some more fun ones. Chandra's Addiction is just going to be pretty
You love
bonkers
that
in this
damn
deck.
card.
I love it. I love it. Ever since I found it and I put it in Prosh, I love it. 3 colorless, double red for a sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each other creature and each other opponent. You will likely have no other creatures, and if you do, it's going to be your Solemns or stuff like that.
Yep.
That's kind of debatable or Bennett. We're playing doubling power. We're playing plussing power. And these cantrips don't cost that much, so it's not hard for me to believe that Eron could be 8, 10, 11.
Yeah.
You get a one-way board wipe and then also deal a huge chunk of damage off of your opponents, all for the low cost of 5 mana and $5.
Yeah. I got nothing to add to that. Makes
Nothing
so
on
much,
that?
I mean, it's perfect. Makes a lot of sense. I mean, I put this in my Garaza deck because she could just deal all of her damage to all the creatures, and then she gets massive and just one-shot someone. So
Right.
yeah. All right. Well, I'm going
Love
to
it.
round out round 26 with a card that I literally lost to at an LGS long time ago, and it makes me very sad. But this is a gamble card because hopefully your opponents have the non-basic lands. Price of Progress. Colorless red,
God.
instant, price of progress. It deals damage to each player equal to twice the number of non-basic lands that player controls. I like that this is actually an instant because you will come up against players that you're playing Eron and they're going to do math. Okay. It's going to put me to this. I got this much cushion. I know I can kill you next turn. I need to keep these blockers back. They're going to do it to where if in theory they're almost dead, they're going to figure out if I have to block or can I kill you. And this, it's like, oh, you let it go through? Price of progress, you probably die.
Yeah, it's really strong. 2 mana. Again, this is something that we're going to be able to build into. Get back with Pass and Flames. Great target for your Underworld Breach late game, right? This is going to make people suffer, and they're going to suffer for spending money on lands.
Yes. All right. We're on round 27, and this is the last round of the Snaky Snake. So,
Snake.
I will be. See, it's like we're getting close to the end, and I want to start like finding like some of these like fun, cool ones.
Some of the fun ones
that I still think are good for the deck, and I'm not just like trying to jam them in. But I think I'm gonna go with this guy. It's a card that I had not seen before. Completely new to me. I love quest counters though. So why don't we go for a quest for Pure Flame? 30 cents.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Single red enchantment. It's an uncommon. Whenever a source you control deals damage to an opponent, you may put a quest counter on Quest for Pure Flame. So it's going to go slow, but that's all right. Remove 4 quest counters from Quest of Pure Flame and sacrifice it. If any source you control would deal damage to a creature or player this turn, it deals double that damage to that creature or player instead. So basically, you have a rattlesnake on the battlefield.
Right.
That it's like, I'm getting drips, I'm getting drabs. Maybe you're blocking. Maybe you're trading. Hey, that's fine with me. Trade your 1/1s for my 5/2. Don't let me get some stuff. Eventually, though, people aren't going to want to trade, and you're going to start ticking up those counters. And then it's, hey, I got double strike and trample. Who wants to die? And then you can start politicking. And I know BigTuck loves to politics, so
I love a politic.
Quest of Pure Flame will definitely let you kind of start manipulating that table.
And I think the best part of it, it's a 1-drop, right? So you don't have to play this immediately. You can always kind of like slink this in, especially if you have the double strike, right? That's 2 counters right there. People are going to start wondering about it. Love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Love it, love it, love it.
Love it, love it, love it.
All right. Well, BigTuck, give us your last round 27.
It's gonna be real quick. Ruby Medallion. Need to play it. You gotta pay the money for it. 2 colorless artifact red spells you cast 1 less a cast, and it's $28. It still hasn't been reprinted outside of Commander Anthology. You just have to, if you're playing mono red, you have to run this because you are going to be behind on lands, and you need the most efficient way to get your cards out.
I agree.
Pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah, it was my number 34 pick. So yeah, it's really good. I wish they weren't so damn expensive. But with that being said, we are at the lightning round.
It could be anything.
All right. So we are on to the lightning round. And as a reminder, what's going to happen here is since Tuck would technically be up, he will pick, then I will pick, and we'll just go down the line like that. Pretty simple. We each only have 5 picks left. So BigTuck, round 28. What are you talking about?
Gamble. We're going gamble. The best red tutor of all time. 1 red. Search the library for a card. Put that card into your hand, and then discard that card. So
can we argue it might be one of the only red tutors? There's only like
I think it is. I think it's like. Is there?
I'm sure there's some creature that maybe ETBs
that in searches for something.
Yeah.
Oh, like Goblin Matron.
Yeah, Goblin
yes,
guys.
This is,
but yeah,
if you're running mono red, you have to have gamble. And you do have to
don't
pay
listen
the
to BigTuck. You don't have to have gamble.
You have to have it. You have to have it. You have to have it. Yeah. So like you said, you talked about Godo. There you go. Now you got them both. Both tutors.
Jesus. All right. For my round 28, let's see. What do we want to go with? I want to go with something that
I always like how these when we actually put these decks together, it's just like all gas, no ramp, no recovery.
You know what? Tuck went boring. I'll go boring too, because we do need to have some removal in the deck. So we're gonna put in Vandal Blast. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So Vandal Blast is going to be a sorcery, 1 red. You can get one for a little under $3. Destroy each target artifact you don't control, or you could pay 4 colorless red and destroy all artifacts you don't control.
The one thing I will say about this is I think that we are now seeing a new resurgence of clues, tokens, and treasures.
Yep.
So I think this card is continuing to prove its weight in gold tokens, if you will.
Who the hell makes gold tokens? Treasure, baby!
King Makar.
All right, round 29, go.
All right, another great instant one. This is a great mana dump late in the game. Bolivarian Rage. Getting raged on it. So it's an instant target attacking. It's X and red, for an instant. Target attacking creature gets +X/+0 till end of turn. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So again, another Rattlesnake card, and it replaces itself. Obviously, it's better in your Feathers and your Zadas, but here you got one person left. Eron is untouchable, unblockable. Now you can just bash on it.
Yeah, I like the card. I run it. All right.
Yes.
For me to complete this, we need a little bit of protection. We need some guys to block. And I think this deck's going to be filled with non-creature spells, so Goblin Slide
oh, for sure.
seems like this is a good fit for a Voltron deck. 2 colorless red enchantment. It's an uncommon for about 20 cents. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay a colorless. If you do, get a 1/1 red Gobbo token with haste onto the battlefield. You will never be attacking with them unless maybe you have your Quest for Flame out and you're trying to get multiple counters. Most of the time, they're just
Savage Beating, but again,
but you're just going to keep them here for
friend.
blockers. And so I think to have an enchantment that probably isn't going to get targeted, and you literally just spending a colorless whenever you play one of the things you're just going to be doing to get a blocker, that seems okay.
I think there's a weird version of this that you can make it no creatures potentially. I think it would be very hard, but you could kind of maybe do it.
Maybe.
But either way, this is very, very strong.
All right, Tuck, round 30. Go.
Okay. Again, manipulating the attack and enchantment. Interesting card for your opponents to play around. Invasion Plans. 2 colorless and a red for an enchantment. All creatures block each combat if able. The attacking player chooses how each creature blocks each combat.
Oh my gosh.
So this is why it's so far in the list, because this can come back and bite you right square in the ass more times than not. But again, being able to be like, none of your creatures attack. Eron's coming in, and I'm going to one-shot you with all these other things.
Yeah.
It's gonna make it kind of cute. I'm worried, depending on your play group, that if you are playing a lot of creature-heavy things, they are just now going to turn into this total bloodbath of bashing into people, tons of damage coming down. It's a greasy one, but I like it for this deck.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Rounding out round 30, I'm going to put a card in here that's just going to piss everyone off, because why not? Ward of Bones, baby. Let's go. 6 colorless artifact. It's a rare for 15. Each opponent who controls more creatures than you can't play creature cards. The same is true for artifacts, enchantments, and lands. Hey, I know you ramped early and got a Birds of Paradise out, and I just played Eron and Ward of Bones. Guess you won't be playing your commander ever again.
You just couldn't help yourself.
Well, I mean, come on. It's Voltron, so it's going to limit them on creatures. We're in mono red, so it's going to limit them on lands. But the artifacts and enchantments, I think it's going to stay the same. I don't think we're really going to be limiting people, because we're going to have a fair amount of artifacts and enchantments. Yeah. It's really just the creatures, so I'm not getting hit in the red zone, and lands to where you can't get that far in front of me. I think the table will all be like, that kind of sucks. But then I think you'll have players start to look at everyone, and it's like, well, Mr. Combo playing this Eron deck, he's like, it's not like he's destroying lands. He's just in red. He's playing a land per turn. Right. But hey, he did play 4 artifacts. I guess I could still ramp. It's not as big of a field ad.
I agree with you, and you need all the help you can get in this.
Oh my God, yes you do. All right, Tuck, we're close. 31.
Last 2. Wrecking Org, Ogre. So this is 4 colorless and a red for a creature, Ogre, Warrior that has double strike, and it's a 3/3, but it also has Blood Rush. So 3 colorless, double red, discard it. Target attacking creature gets +3/+3 and gains double strike until end of turn. So it's a little, that's why it's kind of down on here. It's kind of, I view this as like a last-ditch effort card where you're like, I have to do something, so I'm going to burn a bunch of mana at this weird instant speed. It can't be countered. So that's kind of cute.
Yeah.
It can be stifled, I guess. But just having this as a rattlesnake or as a creature that has double strike has that kind of utility. But again, this is why it's way down on the bottom.
Yeah, I'm a little... I'm not a big fan of it, just because it is still 5 to get the effect.
Yeah.
I think if it was like 3 to get it, then it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I kind of lose my double strike creature to give it to someone else temporarily. This just seems like a bad version of Bestow. Like, you're basically paying the same cost as to play the creature. Bestow, in some cases, you pay a little bit more. and you're getting that effect, and then that's it. It's like, I feel like there should be some incentive to do this.
But to your own point, you pay 2 mana to give it +3/+3 and trample, and then another 2 mana to give it double strike. So you're paying 1 more.
Yeah.
Argument to be made there at discard speed. But that's why it's a sweaty card for sure.
Yeah, but the other cards, they usually give +3/+3 and trample. Don't forget that. We don't get trample here.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Extra mana, no trample. So, but that's okay, because we're going to go to round 31, finish it out with me and Static Orb. Let's go. 3 colorless artifact. It's a rare, $14, or you can get the Kaladesh Invention for $118. If Static Orb is untapped, players can't untap more than 2 permanents during their untap steps. We really just need to untap our commander. That is it.
Yep.
I run Static Orb and Neheb. It has never backfired on me. The only time this will ever hurt you is when someone board wipes to get rid of that and everything else. And in theory, you'd be the last one to untap. But you know what? You're going to have enough artifacts that people want to get rid of. By the time I think Static Orb actually hits the table, unless you get lucky and it's in the beginning, they'll probably have used their artifact removal at that point.
Yep. Yeah, I like it. You can also get a gold version of this, so I am already very excited about it.
All right, Tuck. So, Big Tuck, complete your draft with pick 32.
Let's get Degenerate, the exoskeleton.
Oh,
we're grafting it on, baby. Come on, let's go. 4 colors for an artifact equipment. A crypt creature gets +2/+2 and has infect. And then when it becomes unattached from a permanent, sack that permanent. Equip 2, $4 out of Scars of Mirrodin. 7, you double him, dead. That's it. Tutor it up with Godo, you're back to the races, baby. We have to have ways to close it out.
We do. I don't know whoever said
Believe
that.
it.
Look, I like Grafted Exoskeleton. I think it's great in Voltron decks. I just hate that you did that. Now, granted, the thing that sucks, though, is that this is kind of a non-bow with Eron's Regenerate, because you can't regenerate off sacrifice when this becomes unattached.
Oh, very true.
So
But what are you gonna unattach it to?
No,
Godo?
no. Like if someone like blew up the Grafted Exoskeleton, you then have to sacrifice
sure, yeah.
Eron. So, all right. Well, I'm gonna finish out this episode with a card I've never heard of. I don't know if you have, Tuck, but I think it's very cool. Bludgeon Brawl.
Oh,
2 colorless red for 24 cents. Enchantment. Each non-creature, non-equipment artifact is an equipment with Equip X. And equip creature gets +X/+0, where X is that artifact's converted mana cost. Now, here's the thing, and I want you guys to sit with me. We have talked about Ward of Bones. That's a 6. That's big. Most of the artifacts in this deck, though, that are going to be non-equipments will probably be between 1 and 3. But I think that's actually perfect, because you're literally just, how much power do I need to add to Eron? I need to add 4. Okay, which non-equipment artifacts can I pay a collective of 4 mana to give him 4 power? I love it where it's a 1 mana to get the 1 resource, the 1/1. Always here for this. So we'll see at the end of the episode when we input this into Tapped Out what our breakdown is, but I think Bludgeon Brawl could be a secretly cool card, and I'm surprised I haven't seen it in other decks.
yeah. I don't know. Like maybe because most mono red decks don't care about this, but like we just talked about Duretti a few weeks ago. I kind of think it's kind of sneaky good in that, right?
Yeah.
Like put this on a dragon or something. Bash to the face. Good pick. Great end pick.
Thank you. Well, guys, we're at the end of the episode. We just really want to say thank you for making it until the end, and we'd love a follow, a 5-star review, anything on whatever consumption platform you're watching. It could be YouTube, it could be a podcast. If you really liked it, like I said, do that feedback. We need to know what you like and don't like. And if you'd like to get a hold of us and connect with our community, here's how you could do that. You can reach me at MrComboNumber5 on Twitter, all spelled out except for the 5. Big Tuck, where could they find you?
I am still at BigTuck tweeting on Twitter, and I want to give a special happy birthday to the Escape Queen herself, Holland Roden, who it sounds like you might know who that is.
I do?
Well, you like the tweet. I don't know. Maybe it's just because you like me.
I just liked you.
Oh, that's nice.
I hope you enjoyed the little bit of trolling I did. I know you do your celebrity birthday thing. Did you see what I did in the last week?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Your nonsensical, the post of the day or whatever.
Yes, and that will be continuing for all future.
Okay.
You could reach our main account at CMD Tower on Twitter as well. Also, go to cmdtower.com/BNBE 110 to actually see this draft list. We will have it on Tapped Out, so you can go look at it on there as well, plus the article to accompany it. Now, Squee McGee, if people would love to get a hold of your Manolith commentary and your amazing audio engineering skills, how could they do that? Yeah, he does have a full studio if you're ever local in the area, but hey, work with him remote. He's a great guy and does have some great tools and does produce great content. Now, if you loved our YouTube video, reach out to @_tcoats. Tyler, great video editor, absolutely rock star, does all the video editing for us here at CMD Tower. But we are looking to get better. You know, we've talked about being on Twitch. You know, we're working with him to build a background. Let us know what you guys want to see. Even on YouTube, we're trying to improve Brews and Builds. You know, we started redacted reviews. Like, do you guys like it where it's just audio with visual? Do you want to see me and Tuck? And would that make it more engaging? Let us know what you want so we could try to improve the channel. Now, if you would like to support us, because maybe you are doing a kick-ass job, or you want to help fund us so that way we can start improving to what you want to see, head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/CMDTower. 4 different tiers. Like I talked about at the beginning of the episode, we are coming out with new swag that will be exclusive to patrons with a discount for the first month or so that it's available. And then it will be available for the general public, like our CMD Tower holiday sweater, also in amazing Jund colors. Tuck's big favorite.
Ooh,
a foil playmat. We have sleeves. We have tokens. We have a whole lot of stuff that you get for being a part of our community. So please go join. We talked about a referral program earlier. So if you're already an existing patron and you get someone to join our community, have them message us on Patreon and we will send you some free swag just as a thank you for growing and infecting the populace. Now, we do have a store, cmdtower.com/merch. If you cannot be a Patreon or you say, screw these guys, they suck, I would never join their patron community, but secretly you kind of have this love affair, like, hey, I kind of want a CMD Tower playmat, or I would like a fuzzy sweater to like roll up in. Like, I'm sure BigTuck has some secret JLK and Jimmy Wong memorabilia around his house.
I was like, JLK? Listen, Mr. Combo, we talked about this. We can't talk about how I killed JFK in the past.
Oh, sorry. I should have said MDK. Murder, Death, Kill.
Thank you.
All right. Well, guys, that is the end of our Brews and Builds Eron Chaos Draft episode. So while we wait for the tapped out results to come, BigTuck, how do you feel the episode went? And this is now our 3rd Chaos Draft. How do you feel it's going? And what should we maybe consider for the next one?
Another Slam Dunk episodes. These are kind of sort of becoming some of my favorites because it kind of makes you think a little bit more. I think that you could turn this into an actual deck if you want to. I think it's going to get laughed at, and then maybe you'll sneak out a win once or twice. But I like all of the things that we talked about today. Who knows? The future's uncertain. The world's our oyster for the next one. So like I said, I'm always looking forward to doing this again.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought today's dialogues went great. It was interesting because as much as Tuck opened the episode and said, oh man, so excited, been talking to Mr. Combo. When we literally recorded yesterday, he was like, dude, I don't even know what to do for this thing right now. I'm just so lost. So it's funny what 24 hours and a whiskey could do for Big Tuck.
Well, that's true.
All right. And now for Tapped Out to see what the statistics are.
Are you putting it in right now?
Yeah, that's what we did last time, is like put it in and say, hey, here's what the CMC is.
Yeah.
And that's how we found out we were off a card.
Oh, right.
So for what you've been waiting for, we are now going to get the results of this deck. So to our shock, Tuck, what is the CMC and what's the rough cost of the deck?
So it's a 303 CMC, which is
Streamlined.
Insane. I thought it was going to be like 4 and change. The cost is the problem, though. This is going to cost you anywhere between, on TCG Player, because Card Kingdom can suck it, somewhere between $500 and $1,000 to build.
So I would encourage you to spend the $46 at Card Hoarder and just build it online.
Yes, 7 creatures, 10 enchantments, 1 planeswalker, just a whole bunch of other stuff.
Now, granted, if you decide to cut Gauntlet of Might, I think the deck drops $500.
Yes, correct. Yes,
so then the deck only becomes $75 to build, which then you cut Sword of Feast and Famine, and the deck gets built for free. No. So, well, this was good to see. We're at 46 red pips in the deck. From a breakdown, Tuck, I think there's something here to this artifact rigmarole. We got 25 in the deck.
A lot. We got a lot.
We got 10 enchantments. We got 9 sorceries, 10 instants, nice and balanced. 2 lands, not including the 1 modal land that Tuck added. Only 8 creatures, obviously, and the single planeswalker. So, I mean, this looks like kind of your stereotypical Voltron deck.
Yeah. A little short on the mana ramp, potentially, but we can make some cuts there.
And with that awesome card that I finished with, I'm curious, how many artifacts or non-equipments that we can equip? So we are at 9 artifacts out of our 25. So probably about 35, 40%. So, that's one of the ones that we talked about. Like, hey, you kind of need to look at your deck and figure it out.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, this might be a deck that, it'll be shared. I might throw the lands in and Goldfish online, just see like what it does.
Just see how it goes. See what your draws look like. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I'm glad we got another Chaos Draft episode. I'm glad it was Voltron, which is Josh Lee Kwai's favorite. We know how much he loves it, and we know how much Tuck loves Josh Lee Kwai. So with that, bye-bye.
And I'm coming for you, Jimmy.